The uncertainty in TNA Wrestling is still at an all-time high following the termination of Scott D'Amore, who was basically the face of the entire promotion. They were left without a head of creative. They were left without any real leadership at the top. And now a new president has been named, someone who has not run a professional wrestling company in his entire career. But what does this mean for the TNA creative department? Have they named a new head of creative? I don't know if it's the right move. I don't know if it's a long-term solution, but apparently the TNA roster went as far as to pen a letter to Anthem Sports, basically begging for Scott D'Amore to return. We will go over all of that and who is the new head of creative right here on Off the Script for TNA Wrestling. And the Velveteen Dream is back. Not in the WWE, but Patrick Clark is back in pro wrestling on the indies. And we'll go over what he's doing. And a potential comeback for Patrick Clark is seemingly in the works. We'll go over that right here today on Off the Script, and that's exactly what we'll start off with. The Velveteen Dream, a.k.a. Patrick Clark, returned to the ring at a Dynasty Pro Wrestling show right here in upstate New York. Patrick Clark, known as the Velveteen Dream, probably one of the biggest what-ifs in all of professional wrestling right now, I would say, of the modern era. Everybody penned him as the next big thing in WWE. Dream was released by WWE in 2021 after he was accused of having inappropriate contact with minors in 2020. He had originally put out a statement noting that he was working with authorities to resolve the situation, leading to him being used only a few times on NXT TV, including the last match coming against Adam Cole in December of 2020. Seems like forever ago. There were reports that Patrick Clark also had backstage heat with several people in NXT due to his diva-like behavior. Dream was also accused of filming fellow wrestlers in the bathroom without their consent, in addition to his arrests, accusations of recklessness in matches, wellness violations, and other issues. Dream previously issued an apology video via Instagram asking Triple H, Shawn Michaels, fans, and the company to forgive him for his past issues. And then Chris Van Vliet gave him the platform for almost 2 hours, asking the hard-hitting questions, completely an open book, going over basically everything that happened and being upfront, open, and honest with everybody that tuned into that podcast. If you guys want to go watch that, I'll link down in the description. It is well worth your time and something that could realistically open your eyes again to giving Patrick Clark another chance. On Saturday, he returned to Dynasty Pro Wrestling in New York. Patrick Clark interrupted the opening match before issuing an open challenge on that show. You know, it's a very sticky topic when you talk about something like this, because someone with the background and the accusations, and that's all they really are, accusations. People are going to shy away from what he is being accused of and not want anything to do with him, and rightfully so. It's disgusting behavior, and people like that should not be anywhere near the general public, let alone the pro wrestling industry. But at the end of the day, there were several investigations conducted. And whether you want to believe that or not, you know, WWE, you know, they are going through their own investigations right now, and all the stories about cover-ups and lying and just all the filthy and nasty behavior in WWE. Whether you want to believe they conducted an investigation or not, that's completely up to you. I mean, I wouldn't trust them at all, honestly. But the fact that Chris Van Vliet gave him the platform to go out there and basically on his channel wipe the slate clean. And if you watched the podcast and you've seen his demeanor and his cadence, I genuinely believe that he is sorry for what he did. He was never found guilty of these accusations at all. So as far as I am concerned, as far as from what I see, I posted this on Twitter. Would you give Patrick Clark another chance? The majority of the people in my thread said that they would give Patrick Clark another chance. Now, it's going to be something that you determine for yourself. Nobody can really sway your opinion on that. If you don't want to give him a chance, that's completely on you. If you don't want anything to do with this guy, you don't want to watch him, you don't want to hear about him at all, no interest in him, it's completely up to you. Nobody should be able to sway your opinion on that. You are able to feel how you want to feel. But I honestly feel, and this is coming from me, the fact that he's even getting out there again, knowing the type of reaction he's going at, knowing the type of environment that will happen, social media, people are going to be whispering, what's this guy doing here? Blah, blah, blah. The fact that he's even putting himself out there knowing that the reaction and the reception might not be welcoming is a step towards progress. And I'm very happy that he took that opportunity for himself to go out there and do that. And if he can keep his record clean and not mess up and be mature and take this thing seriously and work his ass off to get back a sliver of what he had in the WWE, maybe some years down the line, maybe he will get that opportunity again to rectify everything that happened in the last 4 years and be given another chance to be the Velveteen Dream. But this is a step in the right direction. So I'm very happy that he took that direction. That's the gist. I'm very happy that he went out there and said, you know what? Great. And I'm happy for the Dynasty Pro Wrestling crew that decided to give him a chance when everybody else basically said no. This could be the door that he needs to open to have more opportunities open for himself in the future. And that's a great thing. So we'll see what happens. Clearly, his name still holds a lot of weight and a lot of what-ifs regarding Patrick Clark. Will he be back with a major promotion? Nobody should be thinking that right now. This is step one, baby steps. If people are willing to give him a chance here, who knows what other opportunities will present themselves, a few weeks from now, a few months from now, a few years from now. As long as he continues to work at it and presents himself as the Patrick Clark that we saw with Chris Van Vliet, I think we're headed in the right direction for Patrick Clark. TNA. I'm not a big TNA guy. You guys know that I don't cover TNA on this channel, but this Scott D'Amore situation does not sit well with me at all for a variety of reasons. Now, I want to start. You guys know that Scott D'Amore was terminated for reasons that I really believe are not what we've heard from Anthem at all. I think it's a complete cover-up. I think it's all bullshit. And I do think at one point, whether it's this month, next month, sometime this year, I do think that we will find the actual reason why Scott D'Amore was fired from TNA. Because everything that we were given, as far as the news that we read and the reports that were out on Scott D'Amore and TNA, none of it makes sense whatsoever. So with him, gone is the creative in TNA. We got a report, which was then debunked. Meltzer had a bad week. Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer, had a bad week. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter this week, Dave Meltzer reported that former WWE and ECW star Tommy Dreamer is the new head of creative for TNA. Now, this was Scott D'Amore's role. D'Amore was beloved amongst the majority of the TNA roster. He went to Anthem to buy the company outright before Hard to Kill, TNA's most successful pay-per-view in several years, with the backing of a major banking institution, and that was rejected. The wheels were then in motion for D'Amore's termination. This was done before he actually went to go purchase the company. The purchase of the company attempt was a last-ditch effort for Scott D'Amore because he already knew that a termination was coming and he was going to be gone from the company. A recent development that came out was a letter being sent to Anthem from several TNA talent, which I'll go over in a second. But Meltzer stated that Tommy Dreamer was made into the head of creative for TNA Wrestling. Meltzer wrote regarding the Zoom call following the announcement, and I quote, Frankie Kazarian was the voice of reason, just telling people to at least give the new regime a chance. Jordan Grace and Moose in particular were very vocal about this. Moose, very good friends in and out of pro wrestling with Scott D'Amore. It was also said not to take that as if Kazarian wasn't mad about it as well, as pretty much everyone was, but when Some got really vocal about it on the call when the announcement was made for obvious reasons. They voiced their opinions and frustrations with whoever was conducting the Zoom call. Now, Fightful Select followed up on Dave Meltzer's report and basically asked around throughout the week and on Friday after reports indicated that Tommy Dreamer would be landing the TNA head of creative role. Fightful is told that creative in TNA is unchanged and features Robert Evans, R.D. Evans, Hunter Johnson, Delirious, and Tommy Dreamer. They will now be supported by Gail Kim and Jorge Barbosa. Ariel Schreiner is overseeing all content and will be working closely with the new TNA president, Anthony Ciccione, on all talent and creative decisions. Who is the new president? Obviously, he has not run a professional wrestling company ever, so they replaced Scott D'Amore with somebody who has no backing in the pro wrestling industry whatsoever. For all those unfamiliar, Ariel Schneer is the former GM of Fight Network who helped spearhead the launch of the TNA Plus streaming service. He manages the distribution across Anthem, including securing TNA's global partnership with DAZN and the distribution of TNA streaming channel on digital platforms, including Pluto TV, Roku, and the like. Jorge Barbosa is a senior producer for Anthem Sports and Entertainment and creator of the Diary series. So, Meltzer claimed that Tommy Dreamer was running creative, which I thought was a bizarre move in itself. And I didn't think that was a long-term solution to what the overall glaring problem is here. Fightful did some research on it, and it's going to be a collective effort between R.D. Evans, Hunter Johnson, and Tommy Dreamer with support of Gail Kim and Jorge Barbosa. Again, still not a long-term solution, but at least you got people there who know the product very well and will relay this information to Anthony Ciccione, who will then make the final decision on all talent and creative decisions. But at the end of the day, it is not a long-term solution. A lot of that is going to come down on everybody there. And if the creative is not up to par where it was, a lot of people were raving about TNA and the direction that they were going in and the direction that Scott D'Amore was taking the company in. If the creative is not up to par and we see television that isn't really exciting like it was, storylines that aren't really exciting like they were, a lot of this is going to come down on the team right now that's running the show, and that's not going to really be a good look. And they will be blamed, and Ciccione will not be blamed because he's got no fucking clue as to what needs to be done. He's relying on everybody here, this collective effort in TNA. So it's going to be bad on them. But the TNA roster still is begging for some real leadership where Scott D'Amore's position left a huge void. The entire company, the roster, wrote a letter directly to Anthem, which reads, and I quote, this is to Len and Scott. TNA Impact is not just our employer and the company for which we work. It is a family that each of us has grown to love and cherish and trust with our bodies and our careers. A family for which we feel deeply and that desire above all else to protect. We are deeply saddened by the decision to remove Scott D'Amore from TNA. Scott is a brilliant wrestling mind that has guided this company, is positioned to take it to the next step upward in our industry. Scott is also so much more than this. He is a trusted friend, a confidant, teacher, advisor, brother, and mentor to so many within the TNA Impact family. Scott has been the heart of the TNA Impact family for over 2 decades. Len and Anthem have been instrumental in supporting and building this company back from the ground up. The contributions of Len and Anthem have never gone unnoticed by anyone in the company, and we want to make sure Len knows this. TNA, simply put, would not have survived without Len and Anthem. Not just financially, but with the undying faith in Scott and us to revive the company that was on the brink of death. Len and Anthem are the foundation that TNA has been able to build upon. We would not have made it back to this point without both of you. The fans know this, and the TNA family knows this. We've come to you to voice our concern for TNA, our family, and its future and direction. We, like you, wish to safeguard what we all have worked, sweat, and bled for to build. We want TNA to continue to grow and to continue to be an enviable place for all professional wrestlers to work. We understand and appreciate the professional wrestling, that professional wrestling at its core is a business, and that the company must provide a fiscally responsible, financially viable product. At the same time, professional wrestling is uniquely situated. The business of professional wrestling is so much more than balance sheets, downloads, and ratings. The wrestling business is and must be its people, its characters, and its storylines. That is to say, there is no wrestling business without the wrestling creative vision and the right people bringing the creative vision to life. To thrive, a wrestling company must have both an eye towards business decisions and its fingers on the pulse of creative decisions and the ever-changing appetite of our fans. It is in light of this concern and our desire to uphold the high standards of TNA that we must offer this letter. It is our desire to have a dialogue with you and with the company in an effort to protect the present and the future of TNA Impact for you, for Anthem, for fans, and for professional wrestlers. We feel strongly that a wrestling person needs to be intimately involved at a high level to ensure that the amazing company we all built and the product we have provided to our fans continues to grow and flourish. It is our opinion that the best possible person for that role is and will always be Scott. We recognize that we do not necessarily know all the facts or details around the decision to remove Scott, and that's the biggest line in this entire thing. We recognize that we do not necessarily know all the facts or details around the decision to remove Scott. In life, there is rumors, opinions, and somewhere in between the truth. We rarely get to know which is which. It remains our hope and desire that everyone can set aside the past few days and any hurt feelings or unkind words that may have been exchanged and meet to discuss a path forward that preserves the TNA Impact family we all hold so dearly. We remain steadfast and hopeful that this letter can be a first step to opening and keep open productive lines of communication to ensure the TNA Impact family continues to be a wonderful, unique place to work for years to come. We ask and implore you both to come together and create a resolution that will reunite this family once again. We look forward to hearing from you and continuing this dialogue. Signed, your TNA family. It may be too little too late. To be quite honest with you, I appreciate and I respect the fuck out of the TNA roster for backing Scott D'Amore the way that they do, and to realize and understand that they need a wrestling person, which they said word for word in this letter. We need a wrestling person that needs to be intimately involved at a high level to ensure that the amazing company we have all built and protect, we have provided to our fans continues to grow and flourish. They need a wrestling person. They know it. They know that Anthony Ciccione is not going to be the fucking person that is going to come on in there and continue the success that TNA has had over the last several years. They don't really trust him to come on in and keep the vision alive. It's not going to be Tommy Dreamer. It's not going to be Gail Kim. It's not going to be R.D. Evans. It's not going to be any one of these guys. The boat is sinking. They know that the vision and whatever was created may be there for a little bit, but it's not going to be sustainable through a wide team of creative here. It's not. This team effort's not going to be. Scott D'Amore was the glue that held everything together. But they even said, we don't know the full details of why this decision was made to get rid of Scott D'Amore. And that is the most damning thing in that entire letter. Nobody fucking knows. Nobody. The shit that we got, the explanations that we got, the news that we got, none of it makes sense. On the surface, you read it, none of it makes sense. This man led this company through Hard to Kill. They were at the fucking peak of their popularity. Everything was running high. They claimed budget reasons. The vision of Scott D'Amore didn't line up with TNA. I don't know what the fuck that means. The vision of Scott D'Amore didn't line up with Anthem. I don't know why Anthem has a fucking problem in anything Scott D'Amore is doing via the television shows. The only thing that would be a problem is Scott D'Amore wanting more budget and Anthem not giving him more budget. But is that a reason to fire somebody that is loved, respected, and trusted like Scott D'Amore? The reason TNA is where it is because of his leadership and the talent that he brought in, molded that roster. The vision starts from that. You don't have somebody like Scott D'Amore come on in that doesn't love this fucking roster and love this company. You don't have someone come in there that wants to half-ass this thing and get them to where everybody respects the shit out of them. I don't get it. I really don't understand anything that we've read or heard in regards to the Scott D'Amore situation. This is why I say I feel like what we've been given is complete bullshit. You know, you want to talk about a Vince McMahon cover-up. You want to talk about everything that's being covered up as far as Ashley Massaro and all this other nonsense happening in WWE right now. I honestly feel like something happened here. I'm not saying it's anything regarding like him, sexual escapades or him doing wrong to this one or that one or abusing women or anything like that. I'm not saying anything like that. I think that something happened. Anthem saw something. Anthem had a string of behavior. Anthem seen something Scott D'Amore do over a period of time that they could not have happen anymore, and they got rid of him. It's not for the reasons that we were given, because none of it makes sense. Something else happened that we don't know. I don't know what it is. I wish I did. Something else happened there that led to his termination before Hard to Kill. Something. Whatever that is, I do feel like we will get the truth at some point. But right now, we're not being fed the truth. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the fans that have backed this fucking product for over 20 years. It's not fair to the roster who's had to work under this condition. It's not fair to anybody who's given their blood, sweat, and tears to this promotion to not get a clear answer as to what's going on. Who knows what Scott D'Amore did? Whatever Scott D'Amore did realistically to get himself fired, this letter may look bad in the end for everybody backing him up. How many people thinking about that? What did he do? Did he do something that the roster would not approve of, where they may regret writing this letter to Anthem? They may look like fools in the end. We don't know. But they want real leadership. If Anthem gives a shit about TNA Wrestling, they'll go out and find somebody that has a wrestling mindset and not a collective of fucking 5 or 6 other brains to run the creative department. Because then you got 5 or 6 different visions that will never align. It's going to be more confusing and more chaotic than ever. You should have the vision of 1 or 2 people that work cohesively and they get the vision right on track. I don't think this is a long-term solution. I don't. And if Anthem gives a shit about Impact, TNA, they will go out and find somebody to run the fucking company the way that the roster needs. Because right now, apparently, they don't give a fuck about Anthony Cicione. They don't trust Anthony Cicione whatsoever to run this company. He's just there as a fucking name with a pretty title. There's no clue what to do. But when things go wrong, who do you think they're going to blame? They're going to blame the fucking creative team. They're not going to blame Anthony Cicione. He's got no fucking clue as to what to do. This is a bad, bad situation, and I feel like the whole Scott D'Amore thing that we got, I don't think that's the true story. I think that there's more to this. I think it's bad. I think whatever he was fired for should be punishable by termination, and I don't know what it is yet. I don't think we've been given the true story, the full story. I think everything that we've heard is complete bullshit. But hopefully we find out soon. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. Are you a fan of TNA? Are you a fan of the decisions that they made to get the creative team on track here for at least a little bit before they find a long-term solution? What do you think should happen? Let me know in the comment section below, and let me know what you're thinking about this whole Scott D'Amore situation. Ladies and gentlemen, please hit that thumbs up. I would love 1,000 likes on today's video. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications, and make sure you go check out all the other content on the channel as well. There is plenty of it, and we will be back with more next week, brand new week, as we ride on into the Elimination Chamber this coming Saturday. I'll be live Monday night for Monday Night Raw and the Go Home Show for the Chamber, which takes place live 5 a.m. Lucky me on Saturday morning from Perth, Australia. Guys, enjoy your Sundays. Hit that subscribe button down below. And I'll see you guys right back here on the OTS side of things for Monday Night Raw right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.